Hi, welcome to the video on Caesar's de Bello Gallico, chapter 39 of book 5. So we have a new excitement in the Gauls to take out the Romans, as we read in 538, and they've kind of recruited the Nervi, who are a local Belgian tribe, and they're going to attack Cicero's camp. And in order to read this passage and know a little bit about what's happening, we have to know a little bit, just a little bit about a Roman camp. There's actually going to be more in the next chapter on that, but you're going to see this mentioned, the volum, which you can imagine if like the forest is all over here. Make little trees over here. So the camps are obviously on this side, and here's your big wall. All right, your volume is actually the combination. Here's the this is actually a rampart is the combination of the fossa here, the ditch, and then the volume, which is kind of like the raised up part. So that in order to, if you're running at the wall, you have to kind of go down into the ditch, come back up the volume, across these sticks, and then you have to kind of hit the wall after you already went through all that. So it's kind of a way to make it hard to storm a camp. It was very effective for the Romans, but you're going to find that it's something you have to put up with even if you're a Roman trying to get back to your own camp, because in this chapter we're going to have Romans out in the woods collecting wood, and they're going to be attacked, and they're going to try to climb up the Volum again to get back to their camp. It's not an easy task to do. All right, so keep that in mind. And also, we're going to need to know that since in the next chapter they're actually going to try to attack the fortress or the winter camp itself, and so we have to kind of know what that entails. And this chart is actually very good because it shows you how it would go about. How would you go about attacking a camp? Well, you have to go down the ditch, up the volume, and then somehow through the walls. So it's not easy. But yeah, let's start translating. Itaque confestem in dimissis nuntis ad Cutrones, Grudios, Levacos, Plumoxios, Gaidumnos, qui omnes sub eorum imperio sunt, quam maximas manus possunt, cogunt et de improviso ad Cicerones hiberna, ad volant nondum ad eum fama de teturi morte perlata. All right. So we start off, itaque and confessum are both adverbs, although itaque is more of a connector, so it's almost like a conjunction here. And then we have confestum. Confestum is an adverb. And then we see demissis nuntis, both being ablative, one being a participle. Demissis is your participle. We know we have an ablative absolute here. However, we can probably say that confestum, being so close as well, probably goes into that ablative absolute as well. So it's an adverb describing demissis. All right, and then if we're going to do prepositions, we see ad, cutrones, and then all these accusives actually go into the ad. And since qui modifies all these guys, I'm not going to draw it to just gaidumnos, but all of these are the antecedents. We have to actually end our odd preposition all the way right there. So it's kind of a long preposition, just a list of names. Note he doesn't use any conjunctions. We have a little bit of a syndeton, and I think that that's because he doesn't want to say et over again. If we have a list of names, this isn't for any kind of effect of like being swift through the text. It's more just like there would be too many ets if we were to put them in. But anyway, so we have all these lists of tribes. These tribes are likely they're probably sub-tribes of the Nervi, much like if we're like the United States, then there would be all these little states inside. These are all these kind of people that make up the Nervi, who are a bigger tribe of Gaul. So you can kind of see their with the qui clause as well, saying that these guys are under their control, meaning that they're part of the nervy state. Okay, so qui being nominative is the subject of our qui clause. Omnes is agreeing with qui. Sub eorum imperio, eorum being a genitive modifies imperio. Sub takes an ablative, so that's why I can't go with the eorum. And then sunt is our linking verb, and we're happy. Okay. Quam maximas manus, so we see maximas and manus being fourth declension with a long US, actually modifies manus. Quam, we think it might start a clause, but in this case, since there is, of course, a superlative right after it, we know that it's just simply doing as blank as possible. In this case, as great, and I think it means as large as possible here. And then posunt. Posunt's interesting because it doesn't actually do anything like in a clause. It's not the main verb of anything. All it is emphasizing the quam superlative possibility aspect. So you'll hear it in translation, but you're not going to see that as a verb of any clause, so be careful there. Cogunt is the main verb here. And then we see at de improviso, ad ciceronis haberna, ciceronis being genitive goes with haberna. Ad volant, so that's our other verb with our at connecting there. So if at is connecting which two things, it's ad volant, and then of course cogunt. All right, nondum ad eum fama de tuturi morte perlata. Actually, this starts a giant ablative absolute. Okay, and I'll show you in a second why. Alright, so there's your bracketing. Ad takes an accusative, so it goes to eum. De takes an ablative. Tuturi is not ablative. You have to keep going to morte. And then perlata. And it's an ablative absolute because, first of all, you have a participle, perlata. Fama is also ablative, so those are actually your two ablative pieces, fama, perlata. And then nondum, means not yet, and it's pretty clear that they are going to the winter camps of Cicero, so we wouldn't say not yet do they go to the winter camps of Cicero, since they are going. So it just makes more sense to start it there. This adverb has to go with perlata just for the sake of context. Okay, and also the ad eum cannot go with ad volant either, because we already have an ad of the location that we're hurrying to for ad volant, so it doesn't really make much sense to say like to him or to his camps. It doesn't really fit, so we're gonna say to him also goes with perlata. But if nondum is already going with perlata, then linearly that makes sense. Anyway, here's the translation. And so, with messengers having been sent immediately to the centrones, the grudii, the levaci, the plumoxi, and the gaidumni, who all were under their command, they gather the greatest possible squads, or bands of troops, and unexpectedly, or if you want very literally, from an unexpected place, they rush to the winter camps of Cicero with the report about the death of Titurius not yet having been brought to him. Remember, Titurius is Sabinus, so they're talking about the massacre of Sabinus and Cotta with that de tuturi morte. So Cicero doesn't know what just happened. He doesn't probably even know that the Gauls are attacking anything at all, so he's caught a little off guard. Anyway, let's move on. Huic quoque accidit quod fuit necesse ut non noli milites qui lignationis munitionis quae causa in silvas discassisent repetino equitum adventu interciperentur. Alright, so we start off here with a dative with huic. If we know the forms of hic, haec, hoc, you will know that that's dative. Quoque means also. It's an adverb, kind of also a conjunction, but I like it as an adverb here. And accidit is our verb. and then we see quod. Quod is a clause, of course, going with necesse. Now, quod is actually a noun relative. Noun relative clause, it does not have an antecedent. It is simply acting as the subject of a accidit. All right. And then we kind of have more information about what this thing is with their ut clause, which is a noun result clause because of our verb happening with accidit. All right. So noun results. Okay. Non nulli milites. Non nulli is an adjective agreeing with milites. However, it is also a lidites in itself. It means not none, and that means kind of some or several. Qui, as we continue, modifies the soldiers, and it's going to go. Let's read through. Lignationis is a genitive. Munitionis is also a genitive. And those both go with causa. So here we've seen this in Caesar many a time where we have causa in the ablative with genitives modifying it, meaning like for the sake of. And then we have, of course, in silvas our preposition, and there's our verb discescent. We'll end our qui clause. We're still going with our ut clause. Our ut clause has not yet ended. In fact, I'll erase and make that black so it's a different color than the qui clause. Okay. And then we have repetino. Repetino is an adjective. Equitum is genitive. They do not agree. However, they both agree. Oh, repetino agrees with adventu. Equitum, being genitive, modifies adventu. Okay, so we got two things modifying. One is an adjective, one's a genitive. And then we have interciperentur. We see it's subjunctive, so that's perfect for continuing and ending, actually, our ut clause. Okay. Actually, I'm going to label your lidities up here. All right. Then we have our translation. Also, it's quoque. Also, it which was necessary happened to him that several soldiers who had left into the woods for the sake of wood gathering and fortification were intercepted by the sudden arrival of the cavalry. Okay. Moving on. His circumventis magna manu eburones nervi aduatuci atque orum omnium soci et clientes legionem appugnare incipiunt. All right, so here we have an ablative absolute right away. Notice that I included magna manu in the ablative absolute because it is clearly the means by which they are surrounded. So these ablatives here modify this verb here, and you have your ablative plurals as your ablative absolute because the participle is, of course, plural. So you have here your ablative subject and your verb of your ablative absolute. Okay. Eburones nervi aduatuci, those are all nominative in our main clause. And then the atque connects those three with this other chunk of nominatives. Here's a couple genitives, actually, horum omnium, but those genitives modify socii and clientes. Okay. And socii and clientes are also nominative. Okay, so we have a nice long label everything with nominative with an N. Nice list of nominatives there, which are all the subject of incipiunt at the end here, but we haven't gotten there yet, so let's calm down. We have an accusative direct object, legionem, an infinitive, appugnare, and then we have incipiunt, our main verb, and all those nominatives, all N's, are the subject of that incipiunt. Okay. With that in mind, we should translate. With these guys having been surrounded by a great band, the Eburones, the Nervi, the Arotuki, and the allies and clients of all of them begin to attack the Legion. Ooh, gripping stuff. So remember, the Legion are the ones collecting wood and things for the defenses, the munitions, and they kind of just attack them in the woods. It's not good, so they have to kind of run or find a way to fight back. Moving on. Nostri celeriter ad arma concurrunt, valum conscendunt. Aegre in die sustenatur, quod omnem spem ostes in celeritate ponebat, atque harc adepti victoriam in perpetuum se fore victores conferebant. Alright, so now we have, let's see, nostri as a nominative. It's substantive because this is an adjective meaning our, and this means our guys, our troops. So we have a substantive adjective there. Celeriter is an adverb. Ad arma, we would have to bracket off or parenthesis off as a preposition, and then concurrent just means to run, and that's our verb. So we have our nominative and our verb there, and we have a complete sentence. And then we, of course, don't have an et here. We probably should if we were doing grammatical, but here's another example of a syndeton. In this case, though, I think it is Caesar just kind of moving through the text. He's kind of showing you the running quickly, and showing you there's no time for conjunction. They're doing action, action, action. So we see valum conscendunt here. Cool. Valum being accusative, and it's a direct object. And then we have conscendunt, our verb. Our sentence is over. It's a pretty easy one. All right, then aegre is an adverb. Is agrees with dies. Sustenatur, that's just a verb again. Cool. Quod begins a clause. It does not have an antecedent. It looks like there's nothing neuter or singular on the left there. So we have to say it's probably a causal clause. And then we say omnem spem agrees. Hostes is accusative or nominative. In celeritate is a preposition. Ponebat. Ponebat is plural, so I'm going to make the leap of faith and say this is probably nominative. Atque keeps our clause going. Hanc adepti victoriam. Hanc agrees with victoriam. They're both accusative, singular, feminine. And adepti is actually a participle, which leads me to believe that Caesar's telling us that this is a participial clause. He's using the word order hanc victoriam to surround the participle to show that it goes with adepti. All right, in perpetuum. It's a preposition. Se fore, we have a se, which is a reflexive, and it's probably accusative because it's not in a preposition as an ablative. And then we see fore. Fore is, of course, the form of futurum esse. Except in the late Republic, oftentimes fore is used as that future active infinitive. All right, and then victores, another accusative plural, and it shows me that we're in an ACI for sure. With that accusative and that infinitive. And then confidebat, it fits perfectly because it's a head verb of our main clause, and actually it's of our quod clause still. We haven't closed our quod clause yet. And since we have a head verb and an infinitive and a couple accusatives, we are going to bracket our ACI, which is right there. Cool. All right, let's translate. Our guys quickly run to arms and climb the rampart. And remember, the volume is that if we go back to the first slide, we remember there's a fossa, a ditch, and then there was a hill, and this is the volume. this hill right here. So when they say they climbed the Volum, of course the walls are like right here, and here's our camps on this side. So the troops are running from the woods, represented by that tree. The Romans are in blue, I guess, and they're running. They have to climb the Volum to get back to the camp. So they're running to arms. They're trying to go get weapons from the camp so that they can fight back. All right. This day is endured poorly because the enemies placed as an imperfect, all hope in swiftness. In other words, the enemies are trying to use speed as a surprise attack, and they're putting all of their chips in that basket. They're saying that their hope of victory lies in speed. So the enemies placed all hope in swiftness. And having secured this victory, adepti is deponent. If we look it up, we see that it has a passive form in the dictionary entry. It is deponent. Therefore, it takes the direct object victoriam, which is a do of the participle. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't label it before. Having secured this victory, they were believing that they would be victors for the whole thing. In perpetuum means forever, literally. Or not literally, into forever, if you want literally. And it kind of means for good. It means that they're going to win all the battle now that they've kind of won this little skirmish in the woods. So they had a lot of confidence here. It's kind of a good place for them to be, since they did get the element of surprise going. However, I think they are going to find out that Cicero is able to do a little bit more than his wood gatherers were able to. So they're going to be in for a good fight. And with that in mind, we'll move on to Book 5, Chapter 40 on the other video. So with that in mind, I say goodbye.